introduce to you our first guest speaker of the day. Kendra Johnson, please come up to the front. She is a business soft skills expert and founder of the Venned group.
Good morning. Thank you. Fantastic. Hi, everybody. I love the energy in the room already this morning. Everybody's had their coffee, which is great. I think we need a refill back there. Perfect. Thank you so much, Tammy. All right, so as busy business owners, I'd actually just first like to poll the audience. Who here is a business owner themselves? Majority of us. Who here is a business leader? Who here communicates every single day? Okay, if you don't put your hand up, you're lying. So that's not a great way to start our relationship here today. So at the Venned Group, we focus on helping teams build connection, improve their communication, and commit to their vision collectively with alignment and with clarity. What we're going to go over today is some of the strategies that we use as business owners in order to help our teams do just that. Now, at the Venned Group, we've helped over 1,200 high-performing individuals and teams do exactly those through improving and increasing our soft skills using communication as our tool. I'm not here to talk about any fancy AI tools, although if you would like any, I do have a suite that I could recommend. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the people that we work with every single day or the tools we use every single day are only as effective as the people that know how to use them. Would we agree? Yes. Perfect. Thank you. All right, keep that communication up. I love that. All right. So in our experience with over 1,200 leaders, we thought, what is the main cause of this disconnect between high-performing teams, the ones that are exceeding expectations every single day and smashing their goals, and those who have some gaps and want to improve? And at the end of the day, after polling the majority of our audience, we found that over 50% of our respondents said that a lack of communication was the #1 barrier to success for reaching their full potential as a team. And we said, okay, great. Lack of communication, that's pretty vague. Let's go deeper. So we asked again, what about this lack of communication is actually impacting you? Over 60% said a lack of clear expectations and goal setting. Okay, so that was something that, whether it's business leaders, whether it's leaders, employees, all felt this rift, this gap. And when we said, well, okay, that's one thing for employees to feel this way, but we're sure that our clients and these business owners are setting expectations properly, and they're communicating properly. And when we actually asked the business owners, this was one of the main responses we got. These 3 words, I heard some laughs, so we can we know. Oh, thank you very much. They should know, right? They should know. They should know what they're doing. They should know what we do. They should know how to communicate, and they should know what I expect of them. How many of us, honestly here, have been guilty of saying these 3 words? Yes, or you felt those yourself, right? They should know exists not just from business owners, but also for our employees, thinking about what we should know about them and the way they operate and what their expectations are in coming to work every single day, right? So we set out to say, great, we want to abolish these 3 words because they should know is not a reasonable answer. And we can continue to improve our clarity and our communication with our teams and with our clients. And if you want to take it a step further with your partners or your family, because this is very much a transferable skill. I use it on my fiance all the time. He's my magnum opus, I shall say. So in the next couple of minutes, what we're going to cover is communication strategies. Again, they might seem simple on paper, but as the great Albert Einstein once said, in theory and practice are the same. In practice, they are not. So I'd like you to take this information while it seems simple and think about how you actually apply it every single day and whether you are applying it every single day. All right? Deal?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect, thank you. So we'll cover how to set expectations, how to communicate those expectations, and then how to manage those expectations so we don't have to go back to #1 over and over and over again. That's not fun for anybody and it's not efficient. And we value efficiency in this room, I'm willing to bet. So when we think about setting expectations, the #1 thing that I always ask is, have they been communicated? And you're probably saying, well, obviously, Kendra, we communicate our expectations every single day. And we might. But I will hit you with a fun statistic, and that is that people remember less than 50% of what they hear in any given conversation. I'm hoping that in this room we remember a little bit more after the next 15 minutes. All that to say that when we are communicating with our teams, chances are they might not be hearing everything we're saying, or they might not be digesting, I should say, what we are saying. So it's important to recognize, have we communicated our expectations? Yes or no? If we follow the no path, then we're making an assumption that we're all on the same page, and we're assuming that our expectations are aligned. Although we all come from various backgrounds, experience levels, I see some giggles over here, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yes. We all have different experiences which dictate and give us a baseline for our expectations. So unless we have communicated them, and most of the time they do live up here, we're likely following that no path. If we have communicated them, and we all have strong onboarding packages, or we set expectations very clearly with our clients, also through onboarding, through emails, through consistent check-ins, then we follow this yes path. However, it still might not be completely accurate, and that is more of a perception. We've collected data, yes, to validate some of our, let's call them assumptions or expectations, but we're not certain, not 100% certain. And that's where we need to get crystal clear on the communication of these things. Now, how many of us have heard of, seen, or presently use the RACI matrix? Yes, I'm seeing. Okay, how many people say, I have no idea what that is? Great, awesome, I love that. You're gonna learn something new. So the RACI matrix is one of my favorite foundations to bring things back to a simple foundation for businesses and for business owners alike. That's when you're assigning any kind of expectation, role, or responsibility. Let people know whether they are responsible for a task, whether they are accountable to the outcome of that task. For you as business owners, whether you would like your team to consult you, meaning come and ask my advice before you make the decision on your own, or whether they should simply inform you. And that's to say, let me know once you've made the decision, carry on, execute it, and let me know how it goes at the end. I think for everybody in this room, the goal is to have an autonomous team where we can simply live in the I space, where we're just being informed about what's going on, and we carry on doing the things that we are really good at, right? Yes. A lot of the time, especially with smaller teams, as business owners, we live between the A, sometimes the R, we're doing things ourselves, we're very hands-on, or the C, right? So in those first three, our goal is to move our team to the I, but before we get there, we need to be very explicit with what we would like our teams to do once they've completed a task. Consider this a call to action for your team. We all have calls to action on our websites, on our LinkedIn posts perhaps, right? The same exists with your team. Make sure that they have clarity of what they should do next so that they know and you've set that expectation of where they should go after you've delegated or explained something. So that's all great. We've set the expectation, everybody's crystal clear on their roles and responsibilities. And now sometimes it comes down to how do we continuously communicate these things? Or how do we have these expectations live in perpetuity where we don't have to continuously explain the same thing over and over and over again as we onboard new people? And that's where we can use some of our tech and some of our tools very simply. One of my favorite things to do with our team is to build a resource hub. When I'm teaching them something new or delegating, I'll screen record what I'm doing and I'll walk them through the process. This serves two purposes. One, I can do it on my time. I don't have to carve out time to sit and train them if it's a task that's quite easy to execute on. And the second is now we have a resource hub. If they forget, rather than coming to ask me, they take ownership and they go and watch those videos themselves. So really, we're also playing to all learning styles. We've got the video so they can watch. We've got the audio, and they can slow it down frame by frame. And for a lot of our shorter attention spans these days, video is always favorable, in my opinion. So you can do that through various platforms like Loom, Zoom, or screen recording. Both Macs and PCs have that capability. You can just Google it, very simple. AI exists in every kind of Word or writing platform that we have, so you can leverage some of those capabilities and tools to document and make your life easier while also helping to set those expectations for your team. And finally, one of my favorites, because it's one thing to tell your team expectations, but we want to understand what our team perceives those expectations to be. And communication at the end of the day should always flow two ways. So ask your team what they believe your expectations are of them, right? Understand their baseline, where they're starting, and see if there's a deficit between their expectations being too high, too low, or maybe spot on. But that at least opens the door for more communication together, right? Excellent. Now, when we're communicating these expectations, especially busy days, I know we've all taken time out of our schedules, which means that tomorrow we might have a big download or upload for our teams. One of the frameworks that we use at the Venned group is called DUST. So you can see the imagery here. It's two folks hiking up the mountain. It's a beautiful sunny day, right? There's a little bit of dusting on the mountain, so they can see their path up, they can see where they've come from, there's clarity of how to get to the peak, but it's not too overwhelming, or they're not too inundated or dumped on with a snow squall that they can't see their path. The same goes for our teams and our communication. We want to think of our communication as dusting. Again, remember, we remember how much of what we hear every single day? 50%. 50%, yes, perfect, thank you. We're listening, I like that. So when we come in and we have these big downloads for our teams, it can be quite overwhelming. We want to make sure we close the loop on each isolated agenda item before we move on to something else, so that our team can find their path. Now, DUST is obviously an acronym, and it stands for making sure your communication is direct, that it's useful, that it's specific, and it's timely. I'm going to focus on the latter two because I believe that those have great influence and that can be implemented immediately. Directness, of course, who are you speaking to, making sure that you have those folks, the right folks, called out in an email, so you're actually speaking to one person or assigning action to one person, and that you're having the conversation one-on-one, right? And we're avoiding any fluff. Usefulness is that you're not providing too much context. Nobody necessarily needs to have, expectations context wrapped all the time. So give as much context as you need and leave out the rest so that your team can get down to business. But when it comes to specificity, this is one of my favorite pieces, is vague and ambiguous language that seems to be used. When we say with goals that we want our team to be better, we need to sell more, we need to improve, those terms are subjective, right? One of the best stories I heard was a couple, and the wife says to the husband, "I need more communication from you." So he goes to work, and every morning he picks up his phone while he's having his coffee, and he sends a heart. And then at lunch he says, "Hi, how's your day?" And then in the evening, right before he leaves, he says, "Okay, I'm leaving now." And so he's chuffed with himself, thinking, I've communicated well. And she's saying, "No, you didn't give me what I wanted. I want more communication." Expectations, nobody's wrong, right? He's not wrong, did exactly what was asked of him, but the specificity was not there to say, what I actually would like is when you get home to tell me how your day is, so I feel like I'm involved in your life and I'm part of your day. I don't want quantity, I want quality. The same thing goes for us and our businesses, both with our team members, with our colleagues, and with our clients. We want to be specific, one, so that they can see the path, but two, so that they have a benchmark, a metric for success. If you're starting here and telling them to go here, we need to help them do that, and we need to give them the pathway, right? Next, we look at timeliness, and this is linked to specificity, I would say, but make sure you put a deadline on things, right? For business owners and for our teams, if we're not giving them a deadline of, I need this by next Tuesday, I need this by tomorrow, well, your team's gonna do one of two things, or your clients will do one of two things. One, they're gonna say, okay, great, I don't have to do this until next week. I have other priorities. Or two, they're going to say, ooh, this is urgent because it came from my boss. So I'm going to prioritize that and push everything else to the side. Neither of those do we necessarily want, unless it is something urgent, in which case one of my favorite things to do, not to scare my team, but they appreciate it, is urgent or not urgent. It calms the nerves and it allows your team to help triage things coming into their inbox, right? So make sure that there's timeliness, make sure you have deadlines attached to the communications that you're sending out. Now finally, we've set our expectations, we've communicated our expectations with our team. We're feeling pretty good, right? And then all of a sudden our team is excelling. They're doing so well and they're actually exceeding our expectations every single day. And so our expectations of them have changed, but we haven't necessarily communicated those yet. And that's where we need to make sure that we are consistently and constantly communicating expectations with our teams, especially when our expectations have changed. That comes in the way of new responsibilities, promotions, maybe just you want somebody to take something off your plate, and that's something new, right? Do we have any football fans in the audience? Yeah? Any Tom Brady fans? No? We all know who Tom Brady is. Football player, quarterback, arguably the best quarterback of all time. It's fact, it's fact. Arguably, okay, well, we might have to disagree about that later. So Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, I believe it's his 2017 year, exceeded expectations, blew everybody out of the water being a quarterback, right? The next year, his team expected those new expectations from him. And so when he continued to perform at the level he was performing at, which was above and beyond anybody else in the league, his team said, well, you're not really meeting our expectations. There's a sad video on YouTube of him not getting high fives, a single high five the whole season, because his team said, well, our expectations of you have changed. But nobody necessarily communicated that, so he was a very sad quarterback for that year, right? But as business owners, we want to make sure that we are consistently, as that target moves, and I know that our targets move in small businesses quite quickly, that we are communicating those things. We are checking in with our teams, and we're asking our team members or our clients or our peers, hey, you know, what do you believe your expectations, my expectations of you are, right? Are we aligned? I want to level set and make sure that your roles and responsibilities are within what you're doing every single day. Also helps to prevent burnout, right? Because we don't want to overload our teams with too much. Okay. A couple of things just to remember when we're setting, when we're communicating, and when we're managing expectations, that our communication should be specific, it should be clear, and it should be consistent. We communicate every single day, so we may as well make sure that we're doing it properly, so we're not wasting time and we're not wasting energy, two of our most valuable resources, right? Oh, I see some photos. I will hold that up for you. There you go. And with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for being here this morning. Yes, Bruce, right?
Yeah, hi, how are you doing?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Is this PowerPoint available to people in the audience after?
Yes, Tammy, are we able to facilitate that to get the presentation to folks in the audience?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We're going to be posting it on our website. So give me about a week to process the video, and we're going to put it on our website on the guest speaker page on our website.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yes, great question. Thank you. And if you have any other questions in the realm of communication, of team building, of really getting alignment within your teams, please feel free to connect using the QR code there. I'd love to chat as well. I'll be hanging around, probably with a coffee in my hand. So looking forward to meeting all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kendra. Fantastic presentation.